He is a legend. He's been playing music his whole life. He's been in bands, tons of bands, man, which we'll talk with him about. But he's currently in his band that he's been with for a long time. Of course, his brother was the late, great shock rocker Gigi Allin. And let's introduce MERLE ALLIN to the folks. Hey, bro.
Hey, everybody. What's going on out there tonight?
A lot of people tuned in to hear you, that's for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
You got some friends out there, man, dude. Lots of people hit me up.
You know, I mean, if we didn't have people coming to our shows, I guess I probably would stop doing this by now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I probably wouldn't, but yeah, I don't know. You know.
Where are you living at these days? I remember you were down in San Diego area, and then I think you moved.
Yeah, I moved from the East Coast in 2010. You know, I was running out of everything. I had no motivation to write anything musically. We were basically in a standstill. We weren't doing anything. We were playing stuff from Feed My Sleeves. We were playing the old Gigi stuff, and I needed to get out of the East Coast, and I moved out to the West Coast. Immediately, we started recording, like we did the Roadkiller record, then we did Killing Tradition, and then Killing for Christ's Sakes, and we've been touring. We've been touring once a year now since, 2003?
Wow.
So, yeah, you know.
How long is your average tour? When you hit the road, what's your average length normally?
Oh, boy. We're pretty hardcore. We go out for a month and a half or 2 months. The last tour we did 46 shows in 48 days.
Wow. And, you know, I like to brag that I one time did 12 states in 12 days. Wow. Yeah. You got me beat like 4 or 5 times, man.
You know, and that's touring in a crappy van that breaks down half the time. And, you know, with us having to drive part of the time, we do have a driver and a van, but, you know, we drive too. So, you know, some nights we stay in nice places. Sometimes we stay with friends that have really great houses, and sometimes we sleep in the van in the Walmart parking lot.
Yeah, I bet you for the most part, you probably get quite a few offers to stay at people's houses, I imagine.
You know, we do, but boy, I got to tell you, sometimes we walk in and we just walk straight back out, man.
Just that bad.
I mean, you know, I've dealt with a lot in my life. I've seen a lot, but sometimes I just have to shake my head and go, I don't think I've ever seen anything that disgusting in my whole life. I can't stay here.
Wow, that says a lot. You've been around, dude. It must be pretty...
Well, when there's blood all over the floor and bags of, I don't even know. Yeah,
I see what you're saying. I know you're one of the few rockers in rock and roll that's not into the drugs and alcohol scene, so you probably kind of try to stay away from some of that stuff, I'd imagine, too, right?
Well, yeah, and people understand that, like, we're playing every single night, like, and then we're driving for hours, you know, either through the night or the next day, and everybody wants to party after the show, you know, and it's like, I mean, we don't really party that much. You know, it's
just the older you get, not to sound cliche or sound like an old man, but you know, when we were in our teens and 20s and 30s and even 40s, maybe we were still doing that stuff. But I can speak with you, man. I know you got to have rest or it can't be done, you know?
Well, you can't physically do it at my age. I mean, I'm going to be 65 next year, you know, and Dino's 65 now, you know, and he's had a stroke. 3 years ago, he had a stroke. Then he recovered from that. We were able to tour the next year. Then he had throat cancer. So now he's recovered from that. So, you know, we can't, like, you know, play a show and party all night and then get in a van and, you know, you just get worn down and then you get sick and then you can't even finish a tour, you know?
Yeah, I can't imagine, man. When you guys go on the road, do you bring anyone to help with merch or is it just the band only?
Well, you know, I used to try to hire people to help me with the merch, but, you know, that turned into everybody thinking that it was just a big party and, you know, oh, we're on the road with the Murder Junkies. It's time to party. So, That didn't really work too well. So I basically do my own merch now. It's like I have to set up my stuff. I have to do the merch table while we're listening to 3 or 4 pretty crappy bands most of the time. I'm not going to lie. I mean,
isn't it?
So, you're already exhausted before you even go on, sitting there at the merch table all night. And then when the show's over, you got to run back to the merch table.
Yeah. Well, you know how that works. Yeah. Oh, isn't it funny too, man, when you're in a band and you're on tour and like how you'll go to different towns and after the show, people just automatically, subconsciously try to kind of corral you to the party, whether you want to go or not. And they assume you're going to be the party, and try to get you there, try to make a party around you. It's like, man, it happens so much. It drives me nuts, man.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, I think people are more, are realized now because, like I say, we've been touring at least once a year since 2003. So, most of the people that we know now that we stay with, sometimes we have our own rooms, we stay in a mansion sometimes. We stay, we either sleep in nice beds or we sleep on the floor or we sleep in our, bench seat in the van in the parking lot.
There you go. Well, at least you always have an option, at least,
Sometimes.
Hey, man, and I don't mean to turn this in any way sad or whatever. I just wanted to quickly say my sympathies on your mother's passing recently. Your mom was a really cool person and was loved by a lot of your fans, and she was really active in supporting you unconditionally, And I just wanted to say, from the Church of Rock, from the bottom of our hearts, rest in peace to your mom, man. Just wanted to give her a little shout out in memorial,
Yeah, that was pretty tough, man. I wasn't expecting that to happen, It's like I spoke to her the day before she passed away. I spoke to her. She was in the hospital, and she was like, "Oh, I should be getting out of the hospital tomorrow, right?" So I didn't think much of it. The phone rings tomorrow, the next day, and it's my mom's man that she's been with for like 20 years. Who I've never spoken to on the phone once in my whole life.
Wow.
When I picked up the phone and heard Bob's voice on the other end, I already knew. He didn't even have to say anything. I already knew.
Wow. Yeah, that's hard. Yeah. That's tough, man.
That was pretty rough.
No preparation at all, man. Wow. Sorry about that, bro.
No.
I know how it goes. I lost mine in 2009. That's the only reason I felt compelled to say something, because I know that stuff's, it don't matter how hardcore we are. We all love our moms.
Well, you know how hard losing your mom is, man. That's like I think that's got to be probably the toughest loss that you'll have, besides something. So
yeah, Sister Tracy sitting here. She's had the same experience. So we've all experienced that same, that pain. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Are you guys heading to Europe, Merle?
We haven't been to Europe since 2008. We've been to Europe 3 times. We've been to Australia. Right now, we're negotiating, fingers crossed. We're negotiating. I've got a contract in my email for a Latin America tour. So South America, hopefully in May. So we would go there first, and then we would come back and then continue for like 4 or 5 weeks playing in this country. So
nice. So you're gonna be doing East Coast dates, correct?
Yeah, we're gonna do East Coast dates, West dates, and Southern dates. We're not coming out to the West Coast at all this year. Yeah,
because you've been out to the West Coast with the last couple of years, correct, or no?
Yeah, we do it once every other year because it's just so much like. Traveling across the top of the country, there's really no really good places to play. So you're driving for like 3 days in a row, like 10-hour drives, and playing really obscure places where there's really not much of a scene. So it's kind of rough. And then when you get out to California or the West Coast, the markets are so small. You really only have San Francisco. Well, you have Portland, San Francisco, L.A., those are really your big markets. San Diego kind of is not really very good.
Yeah, we played there in the spring. I was kind of disappointed. In the past, we'd done some great shows there, but it was weird this last summer. It was just kind of not that many people showed up, man.
In San Diego? Yes, San Diego's a hit or a miss, and you know, the same with LA and San Francisco too. So we do a lot better in the Midwest and you know, Florida, Texas, places like that. We do really well. So.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, do you have any favorite states to play or cities?
Favorite cities? Well, Detroit is great. Chicago is really great. We have lots of good friends there. You know, places in Texas are usually good. Austin is okay. San Antonio is really the best spot in Texas.
That's funny because
that's like the most punk rock city in Texas. Austin is you know, we just recently started playing Austin again. It's just become so trendy and so lame. It's like we usually it, you know.
It's saturated in Austin, man. But you and I, the only time we ever played a gig together was in 2014.
San Antonio.
Yeah, in San Antonio. Yeah. And it was a great gig. It was packed. Lots of people there.
Exactly. You know, we always have I never saw a line at my merch table as long as the line in San Antonio a couple of years ago. We were just all looking at each other, laughing. We were going, the line is all the way out to the door. What the?
Yeah, what the F? Me and Merle had to talk about cussing because we both have sailor mouths big time, and it's an art form to You're doing really good, by the way, bro. I know it's hard for you, man.
No, it's cool, man. I'm good.
I know it probably really is hard for you, though.
I catch myself as we go along.
That's funny.
It's all good.
A rumor that I wanted to address, and I guess I should know the answer, but I don't. So I'll ask you. I heard a rumor that Gigi's grave was moved because of fans' behavior and the funeral, or the people at the cemetery being fed up with it. Is that true or not true?
Okay, this is the story, all right? In 2010, when I moved, and my mom went to Florida for the winter, all of a sudden, my brother's gravestone was taken out of the cemetery. Now, it seems a little coincidental to me that none of us were around when it happened. They said that somebody knocked the stone off the base, and that was pretty much the last straw. So basically what happened was the Catholic priest decided to remove the headstone because of all the, people going there and defecating on the grave and urinating on the grave and leaving, broken bottles and Jim Beam bottles, you name it, it's happened, having sex on the grave. Anything you could think of has happened on that grave.
Wow, man.
So basically the headstone was held hostage in the Catholic basement of the Catholic Church for a few years. And then we were like, all right, well, we want the headstone back. They were like, well, the headstone's never going back in the cemetery. So what happened was, I was like, well, I tried to see if the Rock Hall would take it. I would have loaned it to them to put on display, but I've already tried to get Gigi's stuff in the Rock Hall in the past, and they just won't give me any kind of a guarantee that it will ever be on display. So I'm not just going to, just take all this stuff and put it in a warehouse with all your other rock and roll.
Yeah.
It's never going to be displayed.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
So I decided since JD and Kathy, the owners of the Museum of Death in Hollywood, already had the clothing that Gigi died in, and they have a display. There's actually a whole Gigi section at the Museum of Death.
It's very interesting.
So I decided to, let them take it instead of, I was going to try to sell it to a private collector, but, I didn't want it to just go somewhere where nobody was going to see it. And I figured it would get more people would see it if it was at the Museum of Death than people are going to see in New Hampshire.
Oh, for sure.
So, and I know Gigi would have loved that, and, Gigi would love any kind of controversy that has happened since he died.
And he's also, JD's got that new, or not new, but he's got the other Museum of Death down in New Orleans as well.
He's got one in New Orleans. There's talk of opening another one. He's in the process of moving from Hollywood to he's trying to buy a building.
Seattle.
Well, he's going to put one up in Seattle too, yeah. But he's trying to he has to move from the space he's in now because it's too small. So he's looking for a bigger space because he's got so much stuff. It's like I go to his house and he pulls stuff out of his house and he's like, he's got boxes of stuff in his house that he can't even put on display. Kind of like have the room.
Kind of like the Rock Hall has all the rock stuff in their storage.
Exactly. Yeah. So eventually the headstone will be on display at the museum. You know, there's a figure of Gigi wearing the clothing that he died in, and there's letters, and there's pictures, and there's literally a whole section of Gigi.
That is so cool that it's going to end up there because just so many people will have access to it that way.
Oh yeah. And
well,
and eventually, just one quick. Eventually, his body will be exhumed and put there too one day.
Wow.
But that's some way down the road a little ways still, but that's going to happen at some point.
You heard it here first, folks. Yeah, I think maybe.
I mean, people kind of know about it a little bit. If you go to the museum, some of the guys will say, "Oh yeah, we're going to get Gigi's body at some point." Eventually, it'll happen. Yeah.
What about the last thing I had on my list in my small, allotted time to talk to do interviews? I want to ask you about your documentary, man. That's been on Showtime and other platforms, but it's Meet the Allins, correct?
Yeah, it's called The Allins. It's called All in the Family, and this filmmaker from Denmark. Sammy Safe contacted me a few years ago, and had this idea to make a family documentary, and I was just like thinking to myself, well, I don't know, I mean, is this really a good idea? There's no new Gigi footage. People are going to be disappointed, blah, blah, blah. But I decided to do it because, it's like I'm always trying to put more stuff out there and build Gigi's name up as much as I can throughout the years. So I figured, okay, this will be a good opportunity to do that. So, we made the film and people love it. I mean,
Yeah, I really liked it, man. I saw it when it first came out, and I'd actually forgotten that I'd seen it. And then after talking with you, realized, wait, I saw that when it first came out. Somebody sent me, somehow had a copy before it was released. And it was really well done. Are you happy with how it came out?
Yeah, I am. I'm really happy. Sammy is known for, in Denmark, he's known for doing films about families and stuff like that. Yeah. So we worked really well together. It's like, he's Danish and I'm American. So, he would come, with his notes, on a daily basis, and we'd, argue about, no, I'm not going to say that. That's not how that's not me. And, so we'd have to go through and rewrite stuff and but we worked really well together, and we were both really happy with the results. And, I got to go to Denmark for the premiere, and
wow,
it was great, man. Yeah, they flew me over. They paid me. They flew me over, and I stayed in a hotel for a week and did a bunch of interviews. And there was news. It was in all the newspapers. It was a big deal,
Dude, that's super cool. I'm glad. I hope you keep milking it and taking it on the road and whatever you can do with that thing.
Fuck yeah.
That's freaking
absolutely
awesome. I knew it. You're going to hell. And I'll pay for the ticket.
Man.
That's okay, brother.
So sorry.
But listen, dude, we only had about 20 minutes or so, and we're pretty much at our limit. I really have been wanting to have you on the show for a long time. It's been years since we've asked you to be on. And maybe down the road you could come back once we get a new home, because we're looking for a new place for this place to, restart back up at. So
yeah. Any time. I'd love to come back anytime.
Get like when your new record's out, the next time you have an album out, maybe we'll make that the focal point and just talk about that and play tunes from that or whatever.
Sounds good. Sounds great.
Sweet, Merle. Well, keep kicking, man. Keep doing what you do, brother. And we're going to go ahead and play some Murder Junkies tune, a song called 48 Days from the Roadkiller album. And Merle Allin, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
Cheers. Yeah, thank you, Merle, man. We appreciate it, man.
You're welcome, man.